Our first step will be cleaning the face with a micellar water. So it's very important for you to clean your face before your makeup because of any dirt or residue that you might have on your skin. I mean, it just makes sense to put makeup on clean skin, doesn't it? Well, so that's what we are doing now. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is hydrating our skin and moisturizing our skin. The logic behind hydrating and moisturizing your skin is that your face needs moisture at every point, and there's a way makeup tends to look better on a well moisturized skin. So I went in first with my Flawless IV setting spray. Then I went in with this Dr. Rachel face cream because my model has a combination to dry skin, and I like using this cream on a dry skin person because he hydrates better than other moisturizers that I have. So I just finished blending the moisturizer and hydrating product with a brush, and next I'm going to use this Rimmel primer. So while you are priming your skin, please make sure to prime only the places that you tend to get oily. So as you can see, I avoided putting this primer under my model's eye. That's because under the eye tends to be like the driest part of the face. So if you put primer on that part of your skin, it's going to look cakey. So if you have issues with your under eye, that's probably what you've been doing wrong. So next thing, I'm using this Vee Beauty foundation, and while we are blending your foundation, please make sure to blend in parts. Don't blend all your face all at once. Like, go in little by little until you've blended that place perfectly. You have no business with any other part of your face, especially if you are just starting off makeup and you're a beginner. So the beauty blender I'm using is from Yglam, and this beauty blender is not like the regular type. This type of blender makes your makeup application very seamless. So if you want like a very seamless foundation application or makeup application generally, you need to invest in a very good beauty blender or a brush. Blend your foundation in bits. Don't go in all at once. It's very important that you blend it in bits because it's going to help you stay in control of what is like. It's going to keep you in control of what is happening on your face. As I was saying, I made sure that I used very affordable product, and I'm trying like my best not to use high-end brands, so you don't feel like you have to break the bank to get makeup and to look good in makeup. So I'm basically still blending in parts. So after blending everything in parts, I will go in and make sure that the foundation application is very seamless. Your tool for makeup is very, very, very important. So the next thing I want to do now is to highlight our face. So when you look at a person's face, there are some places that jump out at you. Like, those are the places. By jump out, I mean that there are places that when you look at them, those are the first places that you see. Or when you put a light towards somebody, there are some places that point towards you. As you can see from this video, there are some places on her face that even without putting this bright concealer on her face, they were already like coming forward, they were popping. So those are places that you are going to add brightness. And there are also some places on her face, you are going to see it in the next video, where there are shadows. Like, those places are contoured, they are inside. So basically what contour and highlight does is to add dimension to your face. So please notice where I place this concealer on her face, and also take note when you want to buy a concealer, please try and don't buy a concealer that is more than 2 shades lighter than you, because it's just going to be an unnecessary error. All you need is a concealer that is 2 shades lighter than you. Maximum, you don't find your concealer shade 3 shades lighter than you. And I'm using like very, very small quantity. I don't know if you noticed, I'm not like packing it into the skin. I'm using like very, very little quantity. So what I've not told you during this is that you have to be very conscious of the of the blending. So when you finish blending the concealer, as you can see, I'm going in with a part of the beauty blender that I had not used before, and I'm using it to blend the edges of that concealer. I'm doing that so that you will not be able to differentiate between where I started the concealer and where it ended. I'm basically blending it into the foundation application I already have, so that you don't have like people will just look at you and say, okay, what did you put here that is so bright? Do you get? So you have to make sure that everything you are blending is very, very seamless. So I couldn't finish that part of the video. So the next thing I want to do now is to contour her face, and I'm using this Vee Beauty foundation in maroon to contour her face. I'm mapping out the contour part before I go into blend, and as you can see, I'm starting the contour from the tip of her ear, and I'm not taking it down to her lip. Do you get? So just try and map out exactly how I mapped out, and I'm using a flat brush to like also put in the contour, to also like show you where contour will be on the face. As you can see, I told her to turn left and right so you can see where your contour is supposed to be and you don't pass it. It's very important. Placement and blending is important in makeup. Very, very important. And less is more. Please, there's no need for you to put so much product. Just trust the process. Use little. When you use little and you see the results, you will like it. So please use little products when you are doing your makeup. There's no need for you to plaster your face at all for any reason. So yeah, I'm blending the other part of her face as well. As I said before, blending is important. See, blending is like the one of the most important thing in makeup. If you can blend, just take your time and blend it properly into the skin, so people will not be able to differentiate. Do you get me? As you can see, that when I first placed it, it's looking different from now that I've blended it, and I've blended that part of her nose, and I'm going to blend this part of her nose too and show you the end result. Basically, just when you have residue on your foundation, take it to other parts of the face. And blending is blending is something that you have to learn. If you don't know how to blend and you cannot take your time to blend your products well, you will not get exactly good results. I hope you also noticed where I placed the nose contour and how I am blending it. I'm blending it towards inside her eyes. Please, I'm not just putting products on her skin, on her face. I know exactly where I'm putting them. I know exactly where they need to be, and I'm very conscious of it. So after putting the contour, I already used this same foundation, this same beauty blender to apply our concealer and co. So I'm using the part that I used to apply our concealer to blend in between the contour line and the part where I have the concealer. As you can see, I'm blending it under her cheek and just in the middle of the contour and I don't know if you can see that everything just entered into each other. That's what you should be trying to achieve. So the next thing is blush application. This is a cream blush, by the way. And as you also notice, I am putting the blush directly above our contour. Please, I already told you where your contour will be. Your contour will be from the tip of your ear down. And by down, I don't mean down to your lip, please. And your blush is going to be directly above your contour. Do you get me? And when you are blending, I think this I fast forwarded this video. When you are blending, you don't rub. I've not said that, and that's a very important thing. You don't rub your foundation when you are blending. You tap. If you use very good products and you use very good beauty blender, you will not need to drag your foundation and everything will apply seamlessly. Some people miss it, but that's the key. And the exact thing I did with the contour, where I went back with the beauty blender to blend the middle, like by middle I mean like the middle of the contour line and the concealer line, I'm doing the same thing with this blush. So I'm going back to blend in between the blush and the highlight. So you can see me taking, the beauty blender to her forehead. So what I'm doing there is that I like to do it for my own makeup. I don't know if any other person likes to do it. So because it adds color to that part of the face as well. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, so basically I'm not going to put the whole thing on her face. So it's just going to be like the residue I have left on my beauty blender. I'm going to take it to her forehead. If you don't like that technique, you can rub your beauty blender on a tissue paper to take away the excess amount of blush. So the next thing I'm doing now is to set under eye with a powder. I like to go in with a powder first before I go in with my setting powder. So I don't know, you probably noticed the amount of powder I took. I didn't take a lot, and I'm using a powder that is like 2 shades exactly lighter than her, like almost like the exact shade of concealer that I used before, and I'm tapping in lightly with a small brush. If you don't have a small brush, you can use your beauty blender. Yes, you can use your beauty blender to do that process. And now I'm going to contour, and I'm using that dark shade you saw me take earlier, and I'm using it to do a contour. If you notice, I'm swiping a contour upward. I'm taking it upward. I'm not bringing it down, because I have to maintain that line of where the contour will be. And also I'm swiping it up so that it's going to blend in between the blush, like the contour is going to blend in between the blush and the blush and the contour. So now I'm setting that contour part too with a powder blush, and I'm going to go in with a setting powder from RCMA and basically repeat the same step that I did earlier. And I'm going to set all that part that I highlighted earlier. So one thing you should know and notice is that it's not compulsory for you to use a cream contour and cream blush. Instead of that, you can always skip that part. Like, you can definitely skip that part. It's not necessary. Just follow the process of making sure that you put them where they are supposed to be. But as a beginner, you might not be in control of cream products. Do you get? So you can just invest first in powder products before you now start working with cream. So I am putting setting powder on our brow area too. So I put that powder on her brow bone to prevent my pencil from just gliding on her skin in case her brow area is oily or greasy. So I'm using a pencil. I'm also using Davis pencil. Davis pencil is like the affordable OG of pencils. And if you notice how I'm drawing this brow, you will notice that I am not doing anything outside of what she already has. So that's why it's important that you have like curved brows if you want to draw your brows. So I'm basically just following her hairline. I went in first, like very lightly, don't shade, like very, very lightly, don't put pressure, go lightly and outline the brow first. By outlining, I mean that you put like a guide to where you are going to shade the brow. I'm going to draw the brow in the other side too, and I'll be more detailed when I'm explaining that part. So basically, don't put pressure on your pencil and make sure that your pencil is sharp. So as you can see, I am following her hairline. I'm not drawing anything outside of her hairline. I'm basically just creating something perfect, drawing a perfect line, a more perfect line, or a more perfect structure of her brow. I did the lower parts first, then I went to do the upper parts as well. And now I am shading in very lightly in hair-like strokes. I'm not rubbing. Do you get? I'm not scratching. I'm just, very lightly, like release your grip. Don't be too hard on your pencil. And while you are doing that, make sure that you are also brushing it up with that other stuff I showed you before. That's called spoolie. And now I'm going to highlight our brows. So this process of highlighting just, makes the brow pop better and look neater and cleaner. So if you've made a mistake, please don't wait till you make a mistake. Don't I've tried to avoid mistakes, but then if you've made a mistake while drawing your brow rather, this is the chance for you to make up for the mistakes you made. So don't forget the instruction that I gave. Make sure that your pencil is sharp, and make sure that you are not going too hard on your shading and drawing. Make sure you are going very light-handedly. So the first product I used to clean up her brow was that same concealer I used on her face earlier. I used it for the beginning, like the brow bone area to the tail of her brow. I used the concealer shade. Then if you notice, it's a different shade from the front part of her brow, and that's because I used that concealer. I used that foundation shade to do that part. So basically, I'm blending in the concealer and the foundation into the skin because, as I said before, we cannot have harsh lines. We need to blend and make sure that your blending game is good. So something you should also note while cleaning your brow is that when you're cleaning the top of your brow, if not for this class, I will not have cleaned the top of her brow. But if you're cleaning the top of her brow, try and make sure that you use very, very little product. And sometimes if you don't even have to use anything, you get just to make it look better. Don't use too much. Don't use as much products that you used under the eye. Like, don't use as much product as you used under the brow, on top of the brow. You use very, very little product or nothing at all. Maybe just residue. So I just repeated the same thing on these areas. So right now I'm creating a base for the eyeshadow, and I'm using the leftover concealer that we used earlier, and I'm using the same brush I used to blend the concealer, used to blend the brow concealer, and I'm going to be using this two brushes for this whole look. Just two brushes. You don't need a lot of brushes. So one is fluffy and one is a flat brush, and I'm going to be using this eyeshadow palette, this Yglam eyeshadow palette. I'll be using that brown shade, and I'll be starting from the edge of our eyelid. I don't know if you can see that. You have to be placement conscious and take a little bit of product. Don't pack too much. It's best if you layer product than if you just pack them all at once. So as you can see, I've gone into the palette again, and I'm taking more and adding it to eyebrow. So if you notice, I'm blending it outward. I'm blending the remnant outward towards our nose area. And now I'm going to use this shimmery part of the eyeshadow, and I'm going to tap it. Like, I'm not rubbing it inside, I'm tapping it inside our eyelid using the second brush. And after I do that, I'm just going to take a the brush. I didn't put any eyeshadow again. I'm just using like that empty brush to blend in between the brown color we used earlier and the shimmery color we use now. So to put more to make the pop more, I'm going to use a little bit of black. By little, like I mean very little. Like, I just tapped as you can see, I just tapped my brush into the eyeshadow, and I'm using what I have on the brush now to blend out the edge of the eyeshadow, as you can see. So I'm going to create another type of eye look. I'm creating two eye looks so you can get a grasp, a concept of different ideas of eye look. So this is a shimmery. The one I did before was a shimmery eyeshadow, and this is going to be a matte eyeshadow. That same palette is what I'm using to create these two looks. So I'm using that nude matte eyeshadow, and I already tapped it into that socket part of our eyelid. And now I'm going into the brown, and I'm using it to blend out the edges of the nude I used earlier. Please, where you place your eyeshadow is very, very important. Everybody does not have the same eye shape, and everybody cannot put eyeshadow the same way. I don't know if you get. So consider the shape of your eye when you are doing your eyeshadow. So I'm just going in again with that nude eyeshadow I used earlier to, add more vibrance to the socket part of our eyes. Now I'm going to be using this Younger pencil kajal, Younger beauty kajal, to smoke out our under eye, and I'm using this tiny brush to, I'm putting it into my that same brown eyeshadow. I used the black kajal. Now I'm using this tiny brush to use to blend it out using a brown eyeshadow. That was a mouthful, but I don't know if you get it. I used the kajal earlier. Now I'm blending it out with a brown eyeshadow using that tiny brush I just used, and I'm using this liquid liner. Honestly, if you have a trick to apply liquid liner, good for you. But I apply liquid liner asking the host of angels for their help and assistance. So like I have no rule of how to apply liquid eyeliner. Trust me, I prefer to smoke it out with my black eyeshadow, and that's exactly what I'll be doing on that other eye instead of using this black liner. So as I said before, I prefer to smoke out my eyeshadow with smoke out the tip of my eyeshadow with a powder product. Do you get? Instead of using liquid product, I prefer to use powder product, and this powder product is that same eyeshadow palette. So I'm just taking the black from that eyeshadow palette and I'm using it to draw a wing liner. So of everything I could explain to you, I really do not know how to explain how to draw a wing liner to you. I'm very, very sorry. So just, be careful and know what you are doing. And I'm also going to smoke out the under eye. So this shimmery eyeshadow is a popping look, and this, matte look is a subtle one. So about lashes, when you want to apply your lashes, I advise that you are careful and make sure that you're putting it directly at the tip of the eyeshadow. I mean the band of the eyeshadow. And I use this classic lash glue, and classic lash glue, the key to using it is make sure it dries down before you apply, and make sure you apply close enough to your natural. For the lip part, I'm going to be lining the lip with a pencil. A pencil is easily accessible to most of us, like a brown pencil. You can use your brow pencil for this part. And while you are drawing your lip liner, basically just follow your lip shape. Some people like their lips to look fuller. If you want your lips to look fuller, you would overdraw. I like my lip, personally, I like my lip to look fuller, but my clients, I prefer to follow the shape of their natural lips. So I'm lining the lip first, and I'm going to be using that palette I use for the blush. I'm going to be using that palette for the inner corners of the lips, and I'm going to be using two shades. The first one is that pink one I just took, and I'm using a fluffy round brush to apply it to her lip. You can use the regular lipstick if that's what you have, if that's what you can afford. Just find a lipstick color that suits you and use it. You don't need to, break the bank or do anything extra. So yeah, I'm blending it out with that same brush I used to apply it, and I went in again into that lip palette. I took the nude shade. I don't know if I've showed it, but I definitely took the nude shade and used that in the inner corner of the lip to dilute the pinkness of the lipstick, and I'm just going in again with the pencil to outline it better, because while blending I already erased it, and I want it to pop a bit more. So yeah, please, blending is very important in every area of makeup. You blend your lip, you blend your eyeshadow, you blend your brows, you blend your skin work. Blending, blending, blending. So now I like glossy lips. I'm using my classic lip gloss on the lip, and I don't like to use the applicator directly on my clients. I prefer to use the tail of my brush to apply the lip gloss, and also because it helps me to not scatter what I already have on my client's lips. So yeah, I wonder we are already done with this tutorial because this took hours to do. So basically we are done with everything, and now we are blending the face. So while blending the face, you will notice that I'm taking time to blend in between the blush and the highlighted area, basically because everything has to sink into one another and not stand alone. Everything has to sync. Blending is important in makeup, and I'm going to do that for our forehead too. I think I already did that earlier, where I blended in between the highlighted part and the contour part of our forehead, and I'm going to do that under the contour as well, just to make sure that there's no line of demarcation and everything is seamless. I'm going to do this, all over again, make sure that there's no ash line. And most of you like this part. I'm not really a fan, but after blending everything, I'm going to go in with an highlighter. Some of you call it bronzer, some of you call it glow. Whatever works for you, just make sure you're buying the right thing. So yeah, I'm using this scattered brush. They call it a tapered brush to apply highlighter. So I'm applying it on a cheekbone, on the bridge of her nose, and on her forehead. Sometimes I put it on the chin if I want the chin to pop. So now we are done, and I'm setting it with that same Flawless Ivy setting spray we used from earlier, and I'm just going to wait for it to dry. And here we have the final look.